and see you there. I'm with company Tacom HQ, spelled Tacomhq. Right now I'm here with TnSteyr, and Case has been kind enough to sort of let me spiel you guys up this morning. We are out at the King of 1 Mile, which I'm sure he'll include in this. I'm going to show you guys some of our accoutrements. What we do, primarily what we're known for, by those who know us, are optical augmentations of primary sighting systems. That's going to be the end of the jargon I throw at you, hopefully. What I mean by that is we don't make scopes so much as we make accessories to make scopes do their job better, or do their job in ways they could not do before. This optic here is known as the Bravo Teric. It's our new hotness. We are sort of officially dropping that. It's been on pre-sale for a while, thanks to COVID and certain administrations. Supply chains have put a damper in the speed at which we release them, but they are out. They're ready to go. They're ready to connect some copper with some steel. I'm going to sort of flow through the evolution of the products, and I'll do it alphanumerically. This is the Alpha Teric. We've got the Bravo Teric, which is, as you can tell, we've started with an Alpha, and this is new. It's sort of a reboot. This is about what this looked like originally, but what sort of gave us a name is this, the Charlie Teric. What this is a precision calibrated periscope that adds elevation to your scope beyond what it can dial. So when you need to lob a target 1 mile, 2 miles, and you run out of turret travel on your erector assembly, this adds way more, and so you can dial the difference. This one is set, I think, at 26 mils. We've got 30 mils, we've got 100 MOAs over here. So I'm up 30 right away, and I'm dialing up. This does the same thing this does. The advantage of this is it's practically bomb-proof. Practically. Don't somebody blow it up and then try and get me to warranty you. But it's also recalibratable. So this one's currently set at 20 mils. If somebody sends this back into me, I can reset it 50 mils, 100 mils, 100 MOA, 120 MOA, 3, whatever you want. On top of that, you will get the absolute best optical clarity out of this model. So it's sort of our flagship. I want to say this is running $1,300, $1,400 depending on the mounting accessories that you purchase with it. We introduced a couple years ago sort of a not necessarily an entry level, but a consumer pro level model, which would be this, the Charlie Teric Micro. This is the Charlie Teric, I guess it's the macro, since there's two, and this is now the micro. This, at the moment, has essentially been supplanted by this. We wanted a brand distinction between the two. People kept asking for lighter, and they didn't necessarily want it to be recalibratable. I'll only ever use 30. I'm not shooting that far. So we're introducing the Bravo to sort of take the place of the micro. The micro right now has an NSN, and so is a military, but we're keeping these essentially military exclusive, which probably means I'll get phone calls soon asking for military exclusive things from all the cosplayers, which is fine. It's a problem we want to have.
In cool colors.
So I'll segue, doing the opposite of what I said in reverse to the Bravo. I'm going to pick one of these up. The Bravo comes in 3 configurations. We have an ultralight, which is this right here. This weighs in just over 6 ounces. Then there's a light, which I don't have. I think it's probably making the rounds out here. And then we have the magnetic version. So same thing, only it's a bit heavier because it's got magnets in it. I want to say this is coming in around 8 ounces, maybe just under 9. I should probably have all this pertinent info for you, but I don't. It's on the website. Please check it out, www.tacomhq.com. the advantage of the magnetic and the light version, ultralight, light, which I don't have, magnetic, is you can mount rail mounts to these top and bottom, or if you buy a scope adapter accessory, such as the one shown here, you can run this upside down, right side up. And why I would want to do that is if I want a huge range of travel in my scope. Again, our erector assembly is limited to how far it can go up and down. So what I would do when building a custom gun for extreme long range competitions is I would add, let's do MOA for the sake of argument, I'd add 100 MOA rail or scope base to this thing. So my scope is canted down very steeply. I would put one of these on if it was a 100 MOA unit, upside down. So I now have 100 MOA bias built in and I'm taking it off. So I'm at 0 MOA. I zero, my primary zero, with my scope at 100 meters, 100 yards, whatever you're gonna do. Take it off, I'm up instantly 100. Keep in mind, I still have the full travel of my scope if I factor that into my build. So upside down, I have full travel of my scope. Dial back down to 0, I take it off, I'm instantly at 100 MOA. I have full travel of my scope, so I could probably get to 200-ish MOA, depending on your scope that you're using. Dial back down, I put this on right side up, I'm now starting at 200 MOA, and I could probably dial up to 300. So there's a certain advantage of it. And we can do that via scope mount, or we can use rail mounts, which our light version also has. The only difference between the light and the magnetic version is the light version does not have magnets. It does still attach to a scope, but you have to bolt it onto the backside rather than indexing with magnets and then ideally securing that index with bolts. These side wings here, really just finger tight. From there, I'll segue in reverse order to the alphateric. The alphateric does the same thing that the periscope and prismatic units do, only it's sort of the diet version, the little brother version. It's intended for carbines, really, in most cases tactical applications. If I were running this, you see we've got it with a red dot or a low-powered variable optic, LPVO, for the guys that like jargon. What this does is optically moves the target image higher. So when bolt is out, when you aim, my target image is now higher, so I have to aim higher, which accounts for the bullet's drop over distance. What that does for me in real life is, say I'm zeroed at 200 meters, 200 yards. If I put the dot on a 20-inch wide by 40-inch tall silhouette target, which is pretty much the military standard, that's called an E-type, I should be able to hold center mass on that target and not miss low or high out to about 280 to 340 meters, depending on my barrel length and the velocity of the bullet that I'm firing, and to some extent the ballistic coefficient of that bullet, or how aerodynamically or efficiently it flies, or doesn't fly. So back to where I was at. 200 meters gets me about 300 meters before that bullet is dropping too low to get an impact. What this does is makes it to where my range estimation becomes, is the target inside of 300 meters or is it outside of 300 meters? Or by eye, about 3 football fields. Is it inside of 3 football fields? Is it outside of 3 football fields? If I flip this up, if I estimate the target to be outside of 3 football fields, further than 3 football fields, I flip this up, I continue to hold center mass on that target, I will get an impact if I can execute the fundamentals out to about 500 meters. If you hold top of the target, you should be able to get an impact out to 550, 600 meters. The bullet is dropping parabolically a lot faster the further we go out. So it's essentially adding another 50% of hit rate probability to what you've already had. I can still use this with an LPVO even though my holds, or if I have a bullet drop compensator or BDC reticle in a magnified optic, because again, the advantage it gives me is my range estimation doesn't have to be, you know, within 50 yards on either side of a 100-yard increment. It is outside of 3 football fields or inside of 3 football fields. And we're not going for precise, melon shots on a 8-inch gong. We're going for minute of man. So an impact somewhere in a parabolic rise and fall on a 40-inch tall target. And we've had really great success with these boys in terms of military trials. An added benefit of this, with the same optic, I'm running on a 5.56 or a 308. I can move it to a 300 blackout, zero my DVO, the direct vis optic, with supersonic. So supersonics in the mag, I'm zeroed at 100. If I put subsonics in, normally that will have dropped 8 inches-ish by 100 meters. If I flip this up, I'm now point of aim, point of impact at 100. So I've just gone from supersonics to subsonics, and I'm using the same zero and dot in my reticle. I'll move from there to a bit more of the weapons components part that we do. This here is probably a bit obscured. And this here are what we call the armor optic, which is sort of reversed, it's optic armor. But there's nothing more to it other than it's a roll cage. The thing weighs just in excess of 4 ounces, so it's not adding a substantial amount of labor to carrying this thing around, and it's also a pretty handy carrying handle if you like to suitcase carry your guns, which I don't necessarily recommend. Just fine, as long as you're not flagging anybody. What it is really is insurance. You've made an investment in a $2,000, $3,000 optic, and it's a protection for your point of impact, essentially. If a weapon is dropped and the direct optic takes an impact, what we found is not necessarily that the scopes are failing, but that the rings are being deformed. The ring takes the impact, it bears the brunt, and it either shifts on the rail or it deforms and retains that deformation, which moves your point of impact, and you essentially have to re-zero if you take a bad enough bump. This divorces that impact. It takes that impact that normally would have gone to your scope and then your rings and just moves it right to your gun. Your gun, rifle, weapon, whatever you want to call it, should be plenty capable of taking a bang, because it's making bangs, hopefully a lot. Nothing more to the armor optic than that. From there, I'll show you these big fat boys, these barrels that are thicker than cold peanut butter. What these are start as, in this case, a 2-inch blank, straight cylinder. This probably was 40 inches when it began life. We take a really long drill bit. Let's say this is probably a 36-inch drill bit, and we drill it. I'm going to aim this at you if I don't snag my bipod or everything first. It's got holes all the way through it. You can see it's essentially like the cylinder on a revolver. And what that's doing, in essence, is retaining all the structural rigidity, the stiffness of your barrel, which is predictability and accuracy, while dropping about between 30 and 50% of the weight from the barrel and adding between 300 and 500% more surface area. So you're retaining the rigidity, you are gaining a cooling ability, and you're making it a lot more portable. What we're seeing is we're extending barrel lives, depending on proper care, up to 2 times. We may be further than that, but we have not shot one of these out in a controlled setting, essentially. So we would love to guarantee, hey, we triple your barrel life, but right now under a controlled setting we haven't killed a barrel yet. And then so part of that is, at what point is a barrel shot out? When there's 10 thousandths of throat erosion, when there's 100 thousandths of throat erosion, when the velocity starts, you know, creeping on you, migrating on you, or you know what I mean. So it's sort of a loose, subjective term. And that essentially covers about everything we've got. I can touch on some of the world record breaking things, which, by the way, every world record, standing included, but probably the last 10 before that, have included these. Wouldn't have been able to get them. Mainly because they're 4+ miles at this point, and that's a lot of elevation needed to lob it in. I think the world record breaking Charlie was set at 700 minutes of angle. What those necessitated was the use of this, which is what we call the delta pteric. This has the benefit of getting you around barrel mirage, but the primary designation for this was to actually get you offset. This takes the line of sight coming from here and offsets it, I want to say it's an inch to the left. So the guys that are breaking world records had so much elevation built into these and their scopes that at about a foot from the muzzle, they were looking at the top of their barrel. And their barrels are so thick they couldn't see around it, so they couldn't see the target at all. So we gave them 700 minutes of angle here and then offset it, so they were looking around their barrel at the target. And like I said, we made history, so it worked. On top of that, there have been certain engagements that I've been asked not to talk about much against Daesh ISIS at very long ranges. Some might say world record breaking ranges that had good effect, and I'll leave it there. And that's what I got, guys. Case, very thankful to you for giving me your time, and thank you to you, y'all, the viewers, for hopefully listening as long as you have. And that's it.